Ladies and gentlemen, it has somehow gotten worse. The Dallas Mavericks season that has already been a disaster of historical proportions just got a whole lot worse with Kyrie Irving tearing his ACL the other night. And that pretty much just means that Dallas's season is over. So we're going to talk about the Mavericks and speculate on what their future might look like. I obviously just did a second channel video or a Rusty Buckets channel video. I'm doing the same thing you guys are with mixing it up all the time. Hard to call the same thing for fucking 8 years and then change it. But regardless, let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks. If you're new here over at Little Rusty Bucket, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, all of that. But let's get into it. So the other night, I believe they were playing the Sacramento Kings. Let me just make sure of that. Yeah, they were playing the Kings in a blowout loss, and Kyrie Irving not too long into the game, about 30 minutes in. That's pretty long. But he tears his ACL on a drive. He shot the free throws, but very clearly was pretty much the end for him, and he is going to be out for the rest of the season, and it appears as though Anthony Davis is at least nearing being out indefinitely. So it pretty much just means that Dallas is going to bottom out and tank. Now, where this gets interesting is in two main facets. First of all, where exactly they end up in the draft lottery. If the draft lottery is such that they end up getting a really high draft pick, maybe they could either A, swing that for other assets, other players, fill out the roster, and so on, or B, you can use this to draft a young player that you can either treat as though that young player will be joining your cast of regular, veteran players, or more likely, frankly, you would be treating this guy like your new foundational piece for your rebuild, because in the matter of a year, Nico Harrison will have successfully tanked the Dallas Mavericks' future, because with AD and Kyrie being the age that they are, with the injury stuff that they have, and Kyrie being a free agent this offseason, more likely than not, this means that this whole roster is probably going to blow up this offseason if I had to guess. I really am not very confident that Kyrie Irving would return to the Dallas Mavericks, because this is not the team that he signed up for. While he's put on a brave face and not really been publicly bashful, which is un-Kyrie like historically, I still don't get the impression that he's super happy about this deal. He very much seemed to be a big fan of Luka, really liked playing with Luka, and was invested in the long term in the idea of playing with Luka for pretty much the remainder of his career. And given that the, timeline of his career is not that much longer, Kyrie's like, what, 31, 32 years old? Yeah, he's 32, and he's going to be 33 in just under 20 days. So, yeah, he's getting up there in age himself, just tore his ACL. There's probably some level of reason to be concerned with, how good he's going to be even when he returns from that injury. But even if he is Kyrie, I don't think he's going to be Kyrie in a Mavericks jersey. I think there is a very, very, very high likelihood that this game against the Sacramento Kings will be the last one that Kyrie Irving suits up for Dallas. There's been plenty of rumors of him going to the Lakers, and I think that makes a lot of sense, even if they'd have to do some moving around contractually to actually make that work. He definitely could not get just an outright max contract with them. I don't think that would work either, but maybe something longer term, more secure, especially with the age and injury stuff. So I think that's plausible. If they went that route, I do feel like the Lakers would probably have to trade Austin Reeves, just because there's so much offensive guard production. You could maybe look at it like, yeah, there's so much. We just have such an overabundance that we're constantly creating good shots no matter who's on the floor. You could take that angle. The main concern would just be that you're not going to have enough defense with that lineup. I recognize the Lakers have managed to be good defensively with Reeves, Luka, and LeBron, but if you're throwing in yet another not very strong defensive player into that core, and then you're just asking either Jackson Hayes or Jared Vanderbilt to completely backpack the rest of your defense, I just don't think that's realistic or fair to expect. So if Kyrie did hypothetically end up as a Laker, I think it would mean Austin Reeves is getting shipped off for a defensive-minded center, whoever that may be. So on that front, I don't think that makes a lot. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's very plausible, but it's also not as though that is Kyrie's only option. There are other teams around the league that could use his presence, other teams that could theoretically compete for championships, or at the very least, like a high playoff seed. Like the Houston Rockets are a team that comes to mind for me. What else? The Denver Nuggets would be something. Wouldn't that be something? You know, fuck trying this how good is Jamal Murray depending on the day shit. Just give me Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is consistent at the very least. Minnesota would be interesting as well. I could see the Clippers, but probably not. Not the Warriors. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, maybe there's less options than I was giving him credit for. The Miami Heat would be cool. Either way, I could see him preferring just about, many other teams before he prefers to return to this Mavericks roster that is going to thin out over this offseason. And here's a component of the Nico Harrison trade that I'm shocked I haven't even brought up yet, or haven't even thought of, really. But general managers operate generally with the understanding of the importance of maintaining a good reputation around the league, keeping a good reputation with your players, not doing things to, backstab them, things like that, things of that nature, things like denying a player like $130 million in a contract that they would have got if you didn't backstab them. That's the type of thing where if I'm an NBA free agent that has options, I'm going with any option besides for the fucking Dallas Mavericks. On top of the fact that it seems like you'd be jumping on a sinking ship, I'm especially not going to jump on a sinking ship that is led by a captain who will stab me on the back and use my corpse as a floaty. Like, I have no interest in playing with that franchise, again, if I'm a free agent with options. You can sign some desperation guys. You can sign somebody who has no other place in the league, but you're probably going to end up with the Phoenix Suns tier group of role players. You've got Caleb Martin. Isn't Najee Marshall on like a 1-year deal, or like he has a team option? So I don't even think he would be around either, because I know that team option is cheap as hell if it does exist. No, I'm wrong. He actually has gotten $9 million a year, and that's over the next 2 years. So hey, you do have Najee Marshall invested in the long term. You have Caleb Martin invested in the long term. You have your centers. I don't really know what the decision there is going to be. I also love that when I look at Najee Marshall's basketball reference page, his only nickname is just The Knife. That's an interesting nickname, man. The Knife. The knife. Mom, I got a knife. No! Anthony Davis at that point. If Kyrie leaves, what does Anthony Davis want with Dallas? Why would he stay there? Then you have Anthony Davis asking for a trade. So, then you're turning Luka Doncic not into Anthony Davis, but you turn Luka Doncic into one game of Anthony Davis, followed by whatever you can trade him for, which will be substantially less than Luka Doncic. Yeesh. This is an all-time disaster, and it's a level of disaster that invokes conspiracy. Went over all of this stuff over on the Deep Dive channel. We've touched on it a little bit over on Rusty Buckets, but this is such a botched job. It feels very deliberate in a way that I just can't ignore. Like, oh my God, what a travesty this whole fucking thing has been. If you're a Mavericks fan and you're still holding on, I have respect for you, but I also think you're out of your mind. You should abandon this team because they have abandoned you. It's not like you didn't hold up your end of the bargain for fandom. You did, and you got betrayed, and there is no reason to maintain loyalty other than just your history with the team. And if that's something you can't let go, I fully understand it. But sheesh, man. Brutal. Fucking brutal. And, of course, we wish a speedy recovery for Kyrie Irving, as always. Hate seeing players get hurt, especially players of his caliber. But yeah, that's it. Goodbye.